If you've been scrolling through endless keyboards, watching YouTubers compare specs, and still feel like you're stuck in a loop of which one actually makes sense for my gig or home studio, this is the review that's going to break the cycle. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks actually setting up a Nord Stage 4 Compact in a rehearsal space, a small venue, and even on my apartment balcony to see how it behaves when the lights are low and the coffee is cold. The main question I kept asking myself was simple: does this thing justify its price tag, or am I just paying for a brand name and a sleek chassis? Let's dive in, because a wrong purchase here isn't just an expense, it's a gig that could suffer, a rehearsal that could feel flat, and a piece of gear that might end up gathering dust. First off, the Nord Stage 4 Compact is not a cheap beginner keyboard. It sits squarely in the middle of the professional-grade arena, aimed at gigging musicians who need a versatile sound engine without lugging around a massive console. The 73-key semi-weighted Waterfall Sens Keybed is the core of that promise. In practical terms, the keys feel responsive enough for fast synth runs, yet they give you just enough resistance to mimic a real piano when you're playing chord progressions. When I tested it in a small club rehearsal, the keys didn't bounce back too quickly, which helped maintain control over sustained chords. That balance is something you'll notice in a live setting if you're playing a Hammond organ-style patch. The slight bite at the beginning of each note gives you that classic organ feel without the extra weight of a full-size piano action. Now, let's talk about the sound engine. Nord's piano sound generation is known for being fairly realistic, and on the Stage 4 Compact, the piano patches sit nicely in a mix with synth layers. I tried a classic grand piano patch alongside a warm analog pad, and the dynamic compression handled the two very different timbres without the mix sounding mushy. This is a practical strength when you need to switch from a mellow ballad to an aggressive synth-driven section within the same song. The built-in MIDI control also means you can route the keyboard to any external synth or DAW, which is a hidden value you'll only appreciate if you're already comfortable with patching gear. For a touring keyboardist, being able to send MIDI out to a rack synth and pull back the Nord's piano patches for a quick Piano Plus Synth hybrid can save you a lot of stage space. Who should buy this? If you're a gigging keyboardist who plays a mix of piano, organ, and synth, think of a band with a rotating set list that goes from pop to progressive rock. The Stage 4 Compact offers a compact form factor without sacrificing the depth of sound. It also makes sense for studio musicians who want a solid piano feel for recording, but also appreciate the immediate access to Nord's synth library for sound design. Let's say you're working on a soundtrack that demands realistic piano parts and quick access to atmospheric pads. The Stage's ability to layer in split zones on the fly can be a real time saver. On the flip side, if you're a pure pianistic purist who wants the same feel as a concert grand, the semi-weighted action will feel light. You'll still get a good piano sound, but for the most authentic touch response, a fully weighted hammer action is still the gold standard. Likewise, if you're on a tight budget, say you're a college student just starting out, the price point might feel steep, especially when you compare it to other 73-key options that have fully weighted actions but fewer built-in synth patches. In that scenario, you might be better off a dedicated piano module paired with a separate synth controller, which can be cheaper overall. A practical weakness that only surfaces after you own the unit is the learning curve of Nord's interface. While it's intuitive for seasoned Nord users, the menu system can be a bit cryptic for newcomers. I spent a solid half hour just figuring out how to store my custom patches and then another half hour to recall them during a live set. That's not a huge issue, but it does mean you need to allocate some rehearsal time to master the workflow before taking it on stage. Another thing to note is the lack of built-in speakers. The Stage 4 Compact is a silent keyboard by design, which is perfect for home use with headphones, but it also means you'll need an external amp or PA system for live gigs. If you don't already have a portable PA, that's an extra cost you need to factor in. One of the hidden trade-offs is the compact chassis itself. The smaller footprint makes it easy to fit in a cramped gig bag or a studio desk, but the reduced body size also means less room for extra knobs and sliders. You